Yesterday, the greatest cricketer who ever lived died quietly in his own home. No hospital drama, no headlines building for weeks, just an 89-year-old man in Barbados, in the house on the island that raised him, gone. Within the hour, the entire cricketing world stopped. Cricket West Indies posted just one line: "A great innings has come to an end, and in our hearts, now and forever, Sir Garry Sobers." If that name doesn't mean much to you yet, here's what you need to know before we go any further. This is a man who once held the record for the highest individual score in Test cricket history, a record that stood for 36 years. A man who could bowl three completely different styles at an elite level, in an era when most bowlers mastered one. A man once described by Sir Donald Bradman himself, arguably the greatest batsman who ever lived, as a 5-in-1 cricketer. He was knighted for it. Wisden named him one of the 5 greatest cricketers of the entire 20th century. His own country named him a national hero, a title held by only 10 people in Barbados's history. And somehow, none of that tells you who he actually was, or where he actually came from. Because here's what most tributes today won't spend enough time on. This wasn't a man born into privilege who simply lived up to expectations. This was a boy from a one-story wooden house, the 5th of 6 children, who lost his father to the Second World War before he was even 6 years old, and who taught himself to play the greatest game in his country's history, using bats carved out of palm leaves. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why an entire sport is grieving today, and exactly how a kid with nothing became the standard every all-rounder since has been measured against. This is the real story of Sir Garry Sobers, his childhood, his family, what he actually left behind, and the home where it all quietly ended. If stories like this matter to you, stick around and hit follow, because we're telling the honest version here, not the highlight reel one everyone already knows. Let's go back to the start, because almost nobody remembers how close this story came to never happening at all. Garfield St. Aubryn Sobers was born on July 28, 1936, in Bridgetown, Barbados. He was the 5th of 6 children. His family lived in a one-story wooden house, with no wealth and nothing handed to them. When Garry was 5, his father, a merchant seaman, was killed at sea after his ship was torpedoed during the Second World War. Garry grew up without him. He was also born with an extra finger on each hand, 6 in total. And as a small child, those extra digits were simply removed. No fanfare. No story told about it at the time. Just a poor kid in Barbados, already a little different, long before he ever picked up a bat. And he didn't learn cricket the way today's stars do. No academies, no personal coaches, no video analysis. He learned it on the beach, with bats carved from palm leaves and balls made of rolled-up tar. That's it. That's where the greatest all-rounder cricket has ever produced first learned how to play. Alongside cricket, young Garry also played football and basketball at a competitive level, and some who knew him growing up believed he could have gone professional in either sport if cricket hadn't pulled him in first. By age 13, he was good enough to bowl in the nets against grown men, sharpening his craft against senior club players years before he had any business being on the same pitch as them. By 16, he was playing first-class cricket for Barbados. A year later, in 1954, at just 17 years old, he made his Test debut for the West Indies against England. Nobody had properly coached him. He was simply impossibly gifted, and it showed almost immediately. In those early years, he wasn't even primarily known as a batsman. He came into the side mainly as a bowler, and it took time and patience from selectors before the cricket world realized the bat in his hands might be even more dangerous than the ball. Then came the moment that changed everything. February 1958, Pakistan in Kingston. A 21-year-old Sobers walked out to bat and didn't stop. He finished unbeaten on 365. It had taken him 29 Test innings to score his very first century, and when it finally arrived, it was the highest individual score in the history of Test cricket. That record stood for 36 years until fellow West Indian Brian Lara finally broke it in 1994. Sit with that for a second. A kid from a one-story wooden house in Barbados held the biggest batting record in the entire sport for almost 4 decades. But here's what actually separated Sobers from every other great batsman in history. He was never just a batsman. He could bowl left-arm fast-medium. He could bowl orthodox spin. He could bowl wrist spin, sometimes called Chinaman bowling. 3 completely different bowling styles, from one man, all at an elite level. Add in that he was also an exceptional close-in fielder, and you start to understand why Bradman called him a 5-in-1 cricketer. Not two-way, 5. His rise through the West Indies side wasn't just personal glory either. In 1965, he was made captain, and the following year, in 1966, he led the team to a series win over England, 3-1, a result that meant everything to a region still building its cricketing identity on the world stage. In 1970, his standing in the game had grown so large that he was chosen to captain a rest of the world on a tour of England, an honor reserved for the very best player the sport could put forward, regardless of nationality. In 1968, playing county cricket for Nottinghamshire against Glamorgan, Sobers did something nobody in first-class cricket had ever done before. 6 balls, 1 over, 6 sixes, every single ball sent out of the ground. It's the kind of moment that gets replayed for generations. And in his career, it happens almost as a footnote. By the time he retired in 1974, after 20 years and 93 test matches, the numbers were staggering. 8,032. Test runs at an average of 57.78, one of the highest averages ever recorded by anyone who's played more than a handful of matches. 235 wickets on top of that. He was the first player in history to reach 8,000 test runs, and the honors kept stacking up long after he'd stopped playing. He was named Wisden Cricketer of the Year back in 1964 while he was still playing, and knighted in 1975 for service to the sport. In 2000, Wisden placed him among the 5 cricketers of the century, alongside Bradman, Jack Hobbs, Viv Richards, and Shane Warne. He was later inducted into the ICC Cricket Hall of Fame. Then, in 1998, Barbados went further still and named him a national hero. Only 10 people in the country's entire history have ever held that title. Now, here's the part most highlight reels leave out. Garry Sobers actually was off the field. It's more human than the statistics let on. In a 2002 interview with The Guardian, Sobers admitted something most legends would never say out loud. He wasn't a machine, and he never pretended to be. By his own words, he was out most nights before a test match. Not every single one, he'd joke, just every other one. This was a man playing some of the most demanding cricket in the world, while living like a young man enjoying his life, with nothing to prove and nothing to hide. Maybe that's part of why people didn't just respect him. They loved him. He didn't perform greatness like a robot. He lived and somehow still became the best to ever do it. His personal life had just as much color. In the mid-1960s, on a tour of India, Sobers met the actress Anju Mahendru, and the two were briefly engaged. That didn't last. In September 1969, he married an Australian woman named Prudence Kirby. Together, they had 2 sons, Matthew and Daniel, and they later adopted a daughter, Genevieve. The marriage eventually came apart. They separated in 1984 and divorced in 1990. Through the marriage, Sobers became a dual citizen of Barbados and Australia, a small detail that says a lot about how far his life had traveled from that one-story wooden house. After he stopped playing, Sobers didn't disappear from the game the way some legends do. He wrote several books about cricket over the years, including his own account of a career most people could only dream about, and he stayed connected to the sport as a respected voice for decades, someone younger players and commentators alike would still turn to for perspective on the game long after his last test match. Years later, his son Daniel would go on to build something meant to protect all of it. a company to manage his father's name, run youth cricket tournaments in his honor, and keep his story alive for the next generation of Barbadian kids who'd never seen him play. It's a quiet kind of tribute, built by family, not by a marketing team. Now, about the money, gently, because people will ask. Sobers stayed intensely private about his finances his entire life, and there's no official, confirmed figure anywhere. The number most often repeated online puts his net worth somewhere between $1 and $2 million, but that comes from unofficial sources, not from Sobers or his family. So take it as a rough public estimate and nothing more. What's actually confirmed by multiple outlets is simpler and more meaningful than any number could be. He died at his own home, on the island where he was born, played his first matches, and never really left behind, even during the years he spent in England and Australia chasing wickets and centuries. When the news broke on July 17, 2026, tributes came from everywhere almost instantly. Cricket West Indies shared their now widely repeated line about a great innings coming to an end.